celebrating my third wedding anniversary, but this year David is not by my side. Why? Because he's been on a solo work assignment for the past 6 months. If he can't come home because of work, then I'll surprise him by going to see him. I'll dress up real special. But what I saw at David's place of assignment was him entering an apartment with a woman I've never seen before. I can't believe this. How could he cheat on me like this? Is this who he really is? Well, 2 can play that game. And so began my quest for revenge on David. My name is Karen Smith. I'm 29 years old. I work a regular job while maintaining a married life, a working housewife. David and I have been married for 2 years now. Adding in the time we dated, we have a relationship that spans about 5 years. We met through mutual friends during my first year in the workforce. One of my college buddies worked at the same company as David, and we happened to run into each other at a pub. I was alone. They were having a drink with colleagues. A friend noticed me and invited me to join, and that's how it all began. From there, David and I started exchanging contact information and texting. At the time, my head was full of work. I couldn't imagine dating anyone. Apparently, David felt the same way. Whenever we had free time, we'd meet at a pub and vent to each other. Listen, David, my boss got mad at me today for the dumbest reason. Oh man, I totally get it. They act like they told you something when they never did. Exactly. If you're telling me to do something I don't know about, at least explain it to me. Yeah, you're telling me. Well, let's just drink for now. Sounds good. Tomorrow's a day off. Let's hop to a few places tonight. Our relationship was like a friendship or sibling bond. David became increasingly important to me. After about 2 years of knowing him, I think I've fallen for you, Karen. We were at our usual pub, trying to sober up on a park bench, when David suddenly said this. Caught off guard, my voice wavered. What? Even though it was winter, I felt hot. Apparently, David felt the same way. His face, illuminated by the moonlight, had a faint blush, and I knew it wasn't because of the alcohol. Seeing my confusion, David continued. Karen, will you be my girlfriend? Are you sure about me? Yes, it's you that I want, Karen. We're like best friends who can talk about anything and care for each other. I think you're the only one I can have that kind of relationship with. David! And so, a romantic relationship began. It felt more like a friendship than a romance, but it was happiness nonetheless. Fast forward 6 months, and we were approaching our 3rd wedding anniversary. For the last 2 anniversaries, we reserved a restaurant, had a delightful dinner, and came home to eat cake. We could either continue the same tradition this year or try something new. Even though the date was half a year away, I couldn't stop thinking about it. Then one day, I had just gotten home and was preparing dinner while waiting for David. About an hour later, David came back. I was frying chicken, so I couldn't leave the kitchen, but I yelled, "Welcome home!" But there was no reply from David. I had definitely heard the front door, and usually he would say, "I'm home." Puzzled, I turned off the stove and went to the entrance. David was standing there, looking downcast. Confused, I spoke to David. David, what's wrong? Are you not feeling well? No, it's not that. Then what's going on? You look really down. Something came up at work today. Did something go wrong with his job? With that thought, I casually asked, "What did they say?" David, still looking glum, finally spoke. I have to go on a solo assignment to New Orleans starting next month. What? The guy who was supposed to go had to quit because of family reasons, so they want me to go instead. You're kidding. Why so suddenly? And New Orleans is so far away. I'm really sorry, but there's a promotion involved, and I couldn't say no. Are you serious? According to David, it was difficult to turn down the assignment given the circumstances. It was only for 6 months, and considering his future, the promotion was important. But was it normal for a husband to decide on such a thing without consulting his wife? Despite several attempts to discuss it with David, the result remained the same. I also had my job, so I couldn't go with David to New Orleans. I reluctantly agreed to live separately for 6 months.
Let's celebrate our wedding anniversary when I come back.
With that promise, David's life on assignment began. 2 months later. At first, it was lonely without him, but I gradually got used to life alone. Our daily routine became evening phone calls to share updates about our day. That evening, as usual, I dialed his number at 9 p.m., but for some reason, David didn't answer. He usually picks up within a few rings. A wave of anxiety hit me. I texted him but got no reply. Getting worried, I kept calling him over and over. Finally, on the 6th or so try, David answered.
Karen, what's up?
What do you mean, what's up? I was worried.
Sorry, I was working late.
Working late? I thought your company doesn't do overtime.
Huh? Oh, well, I've gotten used to things, so I'm choosing to stay late. Don't want my performance to slip.
I see. Must be tough.
So I hate to say it, but I may not be able to call as often. I want to hit the hay as soon as I get home.
How could he say that out of the blue? Or is it that I'm the only one feeling lonely? Knowing David was busy, I opened up about how I felt. I get that you're busy, David, but I want to talk. Even if it's just for a few minutes a day.
That's easier said than done.
Please, I'll manage when you really can't.
Fine. I'm tired now, so I'm hanging up. Bye.
What? Wait, David. He cut the call before I could finish. The sound of the call ending left me with an empty feeling. What's gotten into David? We promised to talk daily before his assignment started. And his recent behavior was distant. Is talking to me that much of a burden? I started to feel it was my fault for his lackluster response. It was already hard not being able to see him, and now we couldn't even talk? The loneliness was piling up. Time flew, and it had been 5 months since David left for New Orleans. Our wedding anniversary was fast approaching, but the state of our relationship was far from marital. We barely texted, let alone talked on the phone. Even if I responded quickly, David would take days to reply. I just want to hear your voice over the phone, even if it's brief. Despite my plea, he stubbornly insisted he was too busy. The mood wasn't right for discussing our anniversary, and our conversations became increasingly superficial. Our anniversary was just 3 days away. I subtly texted David, "Can you come home this weekend?" If he remembered our anniversary, he would surely come home. Even though we could celebrate once his work assignment was done, I just couldn't help but want to see him now. Then a call from David came through. It had been a while since he initiated contact, so I answered, filled with anticipation. "Hey, David." About the text I sent.
Sorry, can't do it.
What?
I've told you, I'm swamped with work. Can't make it home.
You're kidding.
That's the way it is.
And just like that, David hung up. Such a brief conversation after so long. Only a few seconds? David sounded rushed over the phone, giving me the impression he was swamped with work. I felt down that David couldn't come home, but then it struck me. That's it. Why don't I go to him? Make it a surprise. If David's too busy to come home, I should go to him. How did I not think of this simple solution before? Decision made. I was all set to surprise David over the weekend. Fast forward to our anniversary day. I was on a flight to New Orleans where David was on assignment. It was Saturday, and David was likely working. I knew his apartment address, so I decided to wait at a nearby cafe until he came home. This was a surprise, so I didn't inform David. I kept an eye on his apartment from the cafe window. What should I say when I see him? He'll surely be surprised. Lost in thought and excitement, I looked outside and saw someone who looked like David. As I was about to pay and leave, an unbelievable scene caught my eye. What? You're kidding me. A young woman quickly ran up to David, who was waiting outside his apartment. He greeted her with a warm smile and caressed her head. Arm in arm, they both went into his apartment, looking happy. The David I knew was gone. My intense desire to see David shattered in an instant. I can't believe it. He lied about being busy and was cheating on me. How much more does he plan to humiliate me? I can never forgive him. I'll make them both regret this. Any remaining love for David evaporated, replaced by a thirst for revenge. I immediately caught a flight back and headed straight to a reputable law firm. Next, I commissioned a personal investigation on David from a private investigation agency. In about a week, I gathered plenty of evidence proving David's infidelity. Maybe he'd let his guard down because he was away on a work assignment. With the evidence in hand, I went to see a lawyer. While preparing for the divorce, I also began packing my things to move out. I managed to finish moving 2 days before David returned home from his assignment. Since the apartment we lived in was originally in my name from my single days, I ended the lease when I moved. And finally, the day David was to return home arrived. After dinner, I was thinking it should be any moment now when, as expected, the phone rang. Taking a deep breath, I answered. David immediately started yelling,
"Hey, Karen! What the hell is going on here?"
"What do you mean?"
"Don't play dumb. Why are so many things missing from the house? Even the appliances are almost all gone."
"Well, that's because I moved them to my new place."
"What? New place?"
David seemed unable to grasp the situation, raising his voice.
"What do you mean?"
So I kindly explained. "I moved out because I don't want to be your wife anymore."
"What? What are you saying? I just got back from my work assignment."
"That work assignment? Must have been fun. Cheating behind my back, huh?" The moment I said cheating, David started to stammer. Thinking he could somehow talk his way out of it, he fired back.
"What are you talking about? Cheating? I would never do such a thing."
"But you did, right?"
"No, I didn't. Are you still holding a grudge because I couldn't keep in touch due to work? It couldn't be helped. I really was busy. I was working even on my days off."
"Wow, you're good at lying. I saw it, you know."
"Saw what?"
"I saw you going into an apartment with a young woman at your work assignment location."
"What?"
David probably hasn't fully comprehended my words.
"No way. I would never cheat,"
he muttered as if talking to himself. That's when I sent all the photographic evidence of his infidelity to his phone. "So, can you still say you weren't cheating after seeing what I just sent?"
What is this?"
"I hired a private investigation agency after I found out you were cheating. Can't believe I got this much evidence in just a week's personal investigation. You must have felt really secure during your assignment, huh?"
"No, this isn't what it looks like."
Confronted with the evidence, David was visibly shaken. Even while panicking, he insisted.
"It's not cheating. She's just a junior colleague."
But of course, all his claims were nothing but lies. The private investigator's photos made it pretty clear. There were shots of them kissing in public and walking arm in arm like a couple. So there's no way out for David now. The more he tries to explain, the more credible the evidence becomes. It seems like David doesn't realize he's digging his own grave.
"I was just helping out a junior colleague. She's like a sister to me. I only love Karen."
His ridiculous excuses make me more disappointed than angry. I had enough and said point blank, "Stop it, David. It's pretty obvious you're cheating."
"No, you've got it all wrong. She's just a colleague."
"So, you kiss and cuddle with just colleagues? Wow, that's creepy."
"No, it's a misunderstanding. Let's meet up and talk it over. You'll see."
I finally reached my breaking point. "Shut up!"
"What? Karen, what did you just say?"
"I said shut up, you awful man." At the sound of my shouting, David was at a loss for words. Furious, I yelled at him through the phone. "You think your pathetic excuses will fly? Who'd believe a cheater like you? I'm done trusting you, David. Count me out."
"Wait, Karen. Let's at least talk."
"No more talking, got it? I'll make sure you and your affair partner pay every dime in the divorce settlement. And I'm telling both our families and your workplace, prepare for your life to be over." I hung up, without waiting for David's reply. Deleted his contact information, cutting him off completely. After that, I divorced David. I took legal action, demanding a lump sum payment for damages in the divorce trial. Apparently, David emptied nearly his entire savings, and his affair partner went into debt to pay. This led to a big fight between them, and they broke up. Or rather, David got dumped. After the divorce was finalized, I reported everything to both families and their employer. Since the affair partner was a junior colleague from David's remote workplace, they both got fired. His finances drained, relationship ruined, and now jobless. David's chances of recovery seem slim. He sought financial aid from his family, but they disowned him upon learning about his cheating. It's pitiful, really. But not like he deserves any sympathy. As for me, I've moved on, living a fulfilling life in a new home. My job is going as well as ever, and I spend my free weekends engrossed in my newfound hobby of crafting. Being alone doesn't feel lonely anymore. I plan to use my time joyfully, living life for myself.